Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 14 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 16 Pro Max and see which particular iPhone is the better one for you. Now, I will definitely tell you in every single way, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is probably the better iPhone that you can probably imagine. It is probably the best iPhone you can buy right now. But I still think the iPhone 14 Pro Max in a lot of ways is a very, very surprising iPhone, and you would actually be so surprised how good of a job a phone like the iPhone 14 Pro Max holds up when against the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So if you want to pick up either one of these iPhones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, the big thing you have to remember, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is an iPhone that came out back in 2022. So this is no longer the latest and greatest from Apple. This was the latest and greatest from Apple like 2 years ago. But even for being 2 years old, it is surprising how good of a job this iPhone still kind of holds up when against the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So the 14 Pro Max is giving us a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. And that is a very, very good panel. Right? That's a very good type of panel on that type of phone. It looks very good. It looks very sharp. And I do think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, that type of phone looks very nice. It's a ProMotion display. You're getting the dynamic island at the very top of that particular panel as well. And I do think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, this is a very solid option, right? I think it looks good. It looks great. And even, like I said, compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it's a very good panel. That I would say a big advantage of something like the 14 Pro Max is that, it is a cheaper phone. So because of that, you're able to buy this really decent panel at a cheaper cost. On the iPhone 16 Pro Max, this phone is giving us a 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this panel is a ProMotion panel, 120Hz. They're both always on displays, but the thing with the 16 Pro Max is that this type of panel, it's a very, very good type of display, right? I like this display a lot. It gets very bright. It gets brighter than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But is it a perfect panel? No, but it's a better panel than the 14 Pro Max, but I think it's fairly close. You're getting slightly more bezel on the 14 Pro Max, but the 16 Pro Max's panel is not like a crazy big difference here, to be honest. But, definitely the 16 Pro Max's is better. A big difference, though, is the bottom of both these phones. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is giving you a USB Type-C port, where the 14 Pro Max is giving you a Lightning port. This is a very big difference. I love having USB-C and I love not having to carry around a lightning cord with me all the time now. So that is a pretty big advantage for something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And that could be a big enough reason for me personally to go and jump up to something like a 16 Pro Max, to be honest. Flat sides on both. You are getting that action button on the side of the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is nice. It's not really something I use all the time, but it's nice. It also has a camera button on the other side of that phone, which again is a nice feature to have, but I'm never really utilizing those particular buttons that much, I noticed. But they're cool, nice things to have, but if it's a big deal to you, then go for it. Otherwise though, the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max still resemble, each other kind of the same. There's not these big massive differences between them either. On the backside, you're getting frosted glass backs on both. They both feel and look very good. Triple camera setups on the backside as well, LiDAR sensors as well. And I'm trying to think what else is kind of going on with these two, but they're both very, very similar, right? Both these types of, phones hold up very well in a lot of different ways. They both support wireless charging, MagSafe capability as well. So they're both very good phones. I don't know if there's one that's necessarily perfect here, but I would probably look at a phone like the 16 Pro Max as being the better phone, but the 14 Pro Max also holds up very, very well in my personal opinion as well. So from those things, that kind of covers it up there. Now, price tag wise, I do want to hit on this. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is like $1199 right now. The 14 Pro Max, you can probably buy for around like $700-ish right now. So that phone is significantly cheaper. In some ways, you could probably find a 14 Pro Max, depending on the condition, for probably almost half the cost as the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So once again, keep that in mind as well. If you're going to go through and pick up a phone like the iPhone 14 Pro Max is going to be half the price as the 16 Pro Max. Camera wise though, they're both giving you triple camera setups on the backside. So they're both wide, ultra-wide telephoto lenses on the back, which is very nice. I love having those types of cameras. And this is a very, very nice thing going on for these types of sensors, which is a very nice thing. 4K at 60 on the front and the back of both. However, the iPhone 16 Pro Max does have 4K at 120 frames per second on the backside, which again, genuinely is a very nice thing to have. And like I said before, I like having a phone like the iPhone 16 Pro Max that's going to be giving you that insane type of capability. But I do think the iPhone 14 Pro Max's camera is still very, very good. Like I said before, before, you'd be surprised how good of a job something like the iPhone 14 Pro Max does. But clearly, like I stated before, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is the better one here. You're getting 5x zoom on that phone versus the 3x zoom on the 14 Pro Max. So once again, one of those minor things to keep in mind. But if I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, it clearly is going to be something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. You genuinely cannot go wrong with a phone like that, in my personal opinion. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of those things, from a software performance perspective, they're both going to be supported with software for quite a bit of time. So they're not really going anywhere anytime soon, as far as I can tell. Both these phones are going to be supported for at least another couple of years. Well, the 14 Pro Max is going to be here for probably another 4 years. The 16 Pro Max is probably going to be here for another 6 to 7 years. So I say that to say, for the average person, it genuinely does not matter which phone you buy today, because both these phones are going to be supported right now. So you don't really have to freak out or worry about either one of these phones right now, because they're both going to be supported. So that is something that's actually very nice, because you can go and buy either one of these phones and basically be able to get a phone that's going to be supported with software for a couple more generations. So that is something that I actually like a lot. If I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, that is something I actually enjoy. So from a software performance perspective, they're both going to be supported for many, many years to come, and you have nothing to worry about when it comes down to that side. Now, another very big thing is the performance. So between both, obviously the iPhone 14 Pro Max is giving you an older chipset. That particular phone is giving you the Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it, where the iPhone 16 Pro Max is giving you that Apple A18 Pro chip inside. So this in and of itself is another very big thing going on here, because if you're wanting the phone that's going to be giving you a better type of performance, clearly it's going to be something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, from my experience of owning something like the iPhone 14 Pro Max, I had a pretty good time with it, like I stated before. The performance within that phone was still very good. I was able to go through and use that phone for a while and compare it against all the other competitions. And even with the 14 Pro and those two phones were very fast. But the 14 Pro Max isn't as fast as something or as powerful as something as the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But like I said, for the average person, it's not really going to matter that much. You're going to have a really good time with something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max, both of them. So once again, I think that's a very big thing to keep in mind. Now, I think with the 14 Pro Max, this is a very good phone too, but the 16 Pro Max is the faster one. But even from a battery life perspective, you are rated slightly better battery life on something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. 33 hours of video playback there versus 29 hours on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But I will tell you, for the average person, you're probably not going to see that big of a difference. Apple on their website does kind of, I think, overstate a little bit of how much performance you're getting or how much battery life you're getting here and there on these phones. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I do think with something like the iPhone 16 Pro Max, it is probably going to be, I would err to the side of that phone being the faster, better performing phone, and even from the battery life perspective. So overall, what I'll tell you is I love my iPhone 16 Pro Max and I love my iPhone 14 Pro Max. I think the 14 Pro Max is a better priced phone. I think that phone is a better value. And I look at that phone as probably being the better device, probably for the average person, just because it's so much cheaper to buy. But I think the iPhone 16 Pro Max is a really good phone. It's the better phone here for sure. And I'd probably say if you're going to go and pick up a phone, it probably makes a lot more sense to go and buy something like the 16 Pro Max if you have all the money in the world. If not, buy something like the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I'm sure you'll have a really good time with that particular phone as well. So that pretty much covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.